Hey, coaches, Coach E here. In today's episode, I'll be kicking off my 8-Man Breakdowns podcast series. In my podcast series, I'll be diving deeper into the details of football philosophy, drills, play concepts, answering questions, and potentially interviewing other coaches on the podcast in the future. Today's topic is working with your JV and your junior high programs. So in my coaching career, which has only been 7 years so far, I've never been a part of an 8-man team that fully separated our JV and our varsity programs. So we've never had enough players, honestly, that we needed to, nor have we had enough coaches that we could do it. But the most we've had during my 7 years has been about 24 players, and the least was probably around 13 on an 8-man team. So with the smaller numbers, less than 25 in every year, there's really been no reason to split the programs apart. And I would honestly guess that most 8-man schools are the same way and they don't split them apart. But with the small numbers on average, I'd say we schedule about 1 to 3 JV games per season, as well as what we called the fourth quarter, or the fifth quarter also, which was just if one team 45, the other with the mercy rule in Kansas, if one team mercy ruled the other team by halftime, we would just continue playing one extra quarter with a running clock because it made it a little easier. You know, the entire fans, all your fan base is there. They travel to the game or it's at home and they're all there. Players are all suited up in there. Coaches are all there. You got officials there already, and you just play one quarter with a running clock. And so that's another thing we did. But in most cases, we just intended for the varsity, to compete well enough that we would give our JVs some cleanup time at the end of the game. But I've been a part of a couple varsity teams where that's all we did was we did a fifth quarter after the game was over and decided by the mercy rule because we didn't have enough players to have a full JV team. And so, like I said, I've never been a part of an 8-man team that fully separated our JV and varsity. So I'm going to move on here and talk more about junior high and working with your junior high program. Because like I said, in every varsity program I've been involved at 4 different schools as a coach now, and also playing in high school, we didn't separate JV from the varsity program entirely. The only exception was on JV game days when they wouldn't come to varsity practice, when the JV players wouldn't come to varsity practice, they would leave early for the away game, or they would not come to practice because they had a home game. But anyway, let's move on to working with the junior high program. So that kind of wraps up interacting with JV. They've always been a part of the varsity. So let's talk about working with your junior high program. So junior high has always been completely separate from varsity and it has been that way at every school that I've been at. So the only exception there, I guess, has been with junior high managers occasionally helping out with practices and being on the sidelines at games. But other than that, the junior high is rarely involved with the varsity football team. So I'll start by saying my approach to working with the junior high program might be different than most. But if you do it differently than me, obviously there's nothing wrong with that. Don't take it personal or nothing like that. But personally, I look at the junior high football team as a completely different program. Different coaches, different players, potentially a completely different offense and defense. So I'll get into what I mean by that. So for me, I'll meet with the junior high coach and I'll let him know I fully support him and I'm going to let him do whatever he wants to as the head coach under a couple exceptions. So I'll let him run his team however he like, but I ask that he uses the same blocking schemes that I use, and I ask that he uses the same terminology as the varsity also. So that's it. That's basically it. He's free to run whatever style of offense and defense he wishes, as long as he does those two things using the same blocking schemes and same terminology. So the reason for this is to give that coach more ownership of the program. Really truly let him be the head coach of the junior high program. And this also gives the kids a different style of offense and defense than they might see in high school. So it kind of gets them a little more rounded. But still, it fully prepares them as far as blocking schemes and terminology, in my opinion, which is the most important thing that they need to know going into high school. I truly believe in junior high. It just needs to be fun for them. And if my junior high coach can make it fun for them and get them really to love the game of junior football in junior high and then continue to go out for football in high school, I think that's perfect. Because, I mean, with so many distractions in the world today with Xbox, TV, Twitter, having a mobile device in your hand at all times and always just being able to do something that interests you rather than a team sport like football. I think it's that important to make junior high football fun more than anything. And of course, varsity high school football should be fun too, but obviously it's a little bit more serious than the junior high level. So if I can get my kids going out for junior high and let that coach do and whatever he wants basically and run the program how he wants it, that's the way I look at it. So like I said though before, if you don't do it this way, there's nothing wrong with that. I honestly just do it this way to allow the junior high coach to adapt more than anything, because he knows his players better than anyone as far as kids coming up from sixth grade going into junior high and his seventh graders that are coming back that he knows contributed last year. So by me allowing him to make adjustments that he needs, I really believe that's just going to help him adapt and fit to his team each year and help them be more successful every year. So if the coach truly wants to change from a spread offense that we run in high school to a double tight option style offense, or even expand the spread into like a empty pass heavy offense, an empty look pass heavy offense, then I'm going to give him the ability to do that each year, as long as he follows, like I said, with the blocking schemes and the terminology. So again, why do I do it like this? Honestly, because in my short time as a varsity assistant and a head junior high coach, when I was doing both, but I was in control of the junior high program, the high school coach that I was coaching under at the time, he allowed me to do it exactly this way. And I was really grateful because it really gave me full control of the program, of how I wanted to do things. And it also was a benefit to the players. They learned the same terminology and system, but we just changed a few things schematically. So we ran the offense, the style of offense that I wanted to run, at the time, which was more run than the varsity program was doing a lot more pass. But we still use the same terminology as far as formations and position breakdown and motion and play calls. All that was the same. And they learned all that. And also I didn't say blocking schemes were obviously the same as well, but they learned all that from a different coach and different perspective and a different schematic view. And I really truly believe it helped them to be more well-rounded going into high school and having something fresh and new. And on top of that, most of the incoming freshmen that I've coached have to relearn the system from their eighth grade year anyways. So again, by just giving that junior high coach full control of his program, I truly believe it really benefited the relationship between me, the junior high head coach at the time, and the varsity coaches also, just because they didn't really have to worry about what I was doing with the junior high program. They let me have full control of it, and they trusted me to use the same system as far as terminology and blocking schemes and just overall play calling, period, was going to be the same. It was just going to be a different schematic standpoint, offensively more than defensively. But like I said, I truly think it benefited the relationship between junior high and varsity coaches, and I've continued with that as far as me being a head coach and interacting with my junior high program. So anyways, there are many ways to skin a cat, like I've said before. So if you guys already have a consistent plan in place that works for your JV and junior high programs and it's working smoothly for you, then just stick with it. You don't have to change anything because of my ideas here today, but I'm just giving you a background of how it works and has worked for me personally. So, well, that is where I'm going to wrap up this podcast episode of Working with Your JV and Junior High Programs. A reminder, you guys, my plan is still to release one video every Tuesday night at 7:30. So if you want to see the video right away as it's released, tune into the channel on Tuesday nights at 7:30. Remember, if you have any questions for me, comment your questions on any of the videos, and I'll get back as soon as I can. Might even use them in a future video, especially a 3 questions with Coach E video. So now a question for you guys real quick though. How do you work with your JV and junior high programs? Let me know in the comments below if you'd like to share. And if you enjoyed this video, please click subscribe and check out my previous videos here. And like always, thanks for tuning in.